Welcome to week one, Follow-Up Friday with Frank. And we get to see all of the awesome work that he's been doing. And he's going to make every other cosplayer hate their life because he's so far ahead. But it's still going to be good. And Days Till Dragon Con is sponsored by Balls Energy Drink, Arta Wigs, Sugar Tits, and Becca Doodles. And they are awesome enough to help us out with this. And go, Frank. What have you been up to? You make me
I
feel bad
have
about
been.
myself
Why am I making you feel bad?
because I haven't started yet.
Well, unfortunately, with the amount of technical stuff in this one, I kind of had to start early. And as I said in the last video that I pretty much started the week after last Dragon Con. So right now, I am figuring out what I have done, what I need to add to, and what still hasn't been done yet. So everything's sort of getting prioritized right now. Some of the things that I do have done, one of the things is the main mask of Necron, the leader of the Black Lanterns. Fortunately, I had started on this costume so far back in the fall, last fall, that I was able to get this actually finished in time. I have done some adjustments to this piece. Basically, this character, his face is very zombie-like, almost like a skull, very mean, menacing looking. Not going to achieve something like that with makeup, so I had to make a mask for it. Last fall, I finally was introduced to Warbler as a medium for making just about anything. Originally, I intended to use it for armor, but I found that in single sheets without thickening it up and also heating it, it made a great basis for masks, thin enough to be able to mold. This is where it gets a little crazy. Usually, if you're making a mask of yourself, you want something to fit and contour to your face perfectly. You're going to make a light cast to your face, real messy, a lot of pouring. But eventually, what you end up with is a cast of your head, which you would then use to basically mold or shape a mask or sculpt something onto it. Beauty of Warbler is it being flexible. You heat it up, you can mold it to a thing. I didn't have access to this at the time, and I was a little impatient, so what I ended up doing was I found out all the heating properties of Warbler, what temperatures it had to go to for it to be able to be flexible, be able to work with it. So basically what I did was I took a sheet of this stuff, put it in my oven, on warm, just basically took it up to about 200 degrees, got it just soft enough. Once it was pliable, took it out, let it cool a little bit to a point of where it was basically like a hot washcloth, is the way I say it, and I proceeded to mold it on my face. I'm that hardcore.
This at home.
Yeah.
We're
No
not
problem.
condoning this.
No problems with it. Didn't burn or anything like that. It was just to the point where it was warm enough that actually it could contort it to where my eyes would be, my nose would be, and from there I was able to hand sculpt the rest of it. The Warbler itself, if anybody's worked with this before, you will find that it's impossible to sand. It's made up of plastic and wood shavings, basically sawdust. You cannot get it smooth on its own. You have to introduce some sort of a medium over top of it to seal it. Also to harden it, because in a thin sheet, single sheet like that, even as a mask, this Warbler is going to be super flexible. I found some tips, tricks online, some things just by trial and error with the Warbler that actually hardened it itself, made it a little less heat resistant as well. And then I coated it in polyester resin. Polyester resin is basically a fancy term for Bondo. There are certain types of Bondo out there. If anybody has any experience with it, you probably haven't used the stuff that I do. It's more of an industrial. It's made for automotive, professional automotive work. It's a whole lot different than what you would buy at, say, Walmart or a local auto store. Goes on basically like cake frosting. You can get it super smooth, and it is very, very flexible to stick to anything.
Hmm.
The finished product I have actually right here, and this is the mask itself. You can see that pretty well,
Creepy.
but it is extremely creepy. What makes it stand apart a little bit from what you would see normally with a mask, because I'm going to be wearing this, I basically have a nylon hood, kind of like a ninja hood, that I'll be wearing completely over my face. The hole's basically just going to leave this part of my face exposed, which mask will cover everything up. Nose is going to be basically covered up through here. And as you can see from the back, this is the rare shots you wouldn't see normally. Still bare ward look.
Wow.
And as you can see with the hinge work that's in here, the jaw is sprung so that when I talk, mouth moves.
And there's also electrical in there.
Yes, yes. This will be wired to my vest, which actually is behind me. I'll probably be going over that for next week because I still have a lot of work to do on everything. The vest itself has a power source mounted into it, which is going to have a few power leads on it that my shoulder pads, which are on the mannequin back there, they have electronics in them. It'll plug into that power source. And so will this mask once I put it on. It'll also plug into the power source. And I can actually simulate what you'll see there. You can see the eyes that are in the mask. It's a little bright in here, so you really don't get the full effect of it, but you can definitely see that they light up. And one
That's
nice thing
creepier.
is, one nice thing is these are just so close to my face. They're basically a type of finishing washer that has poured resin and LEDs mounted inside of them. Uh, they're so close to my face that you actually look through them like teeny tiny little glasses. They don't hinder your vision at all, even lit up. They don't bother you whatsoever. I've worn it just for an hour at a time, seeing if it gives me any headaches or any visual problems. Nothing. So, other than the fact that it's obviously going to be very warm at Dragon Con,
Mm-hmm.
and overheating is always an issue with costuming there. At least I know I won't be running into anybody. I won't be able to see.
Which is always a plus. Not everyone can say that about their costumes.
Last year was a little difficult. I had my steampunk Iron Man costume. It was great when I was walking around carrying the helmet for it, but not so much when I would put the visor down and light the eyes up on it. You really couldn't see anything, especially in a brightly lit room. So that was
Yeah.
pretty much just for pictures only. I didn't want to walk around like that.
Cool. So do you have anything else that's in progress?
Yes,
Anything you want
actually,
to show?
pretty much everything's in progress. What you can actually see here, the costume back there that I have, we'll probably have to save for another day. There's a lot to talk about with it. But the costume itself being steampunk, and this is kind of an important thing to me. Some people say I'm a purist because of it. Steampunk is basically Victorian science fiction. That's the best definition I can give to somebody that's never heard of it. Victorian era, what is simulated in steampunk is going to be the clothing, the fashion. Um, Very dressy, dress shirts. Men wore vests, suit coats, top hats, things like that. Women wore dresses, corsets. These are just identifiable parts of the fashion. Uh, when I make something steampunk, I like to use period correct patterns. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, the vest that you see back there on the mannequin, the shirt, and the pants are all made from period Victorian men's clothing patterns. Uh, so the vest is something that you would have seen in the 1880s or so. The pants themselves, although you can't tell, are suspendered. They're high waist. Back then, pants came up to your navel. High waters weren't
What?
really out of style. Yeah, that's another thing I'll probably show next week. They did dress pants did not have pockets. The pair of pants back there do not have pockets. The zipper wasn't invented yet, so they just have a button fly. So I try to keep to the original patterns. The shirt itself, dress shirts did not button down the whole way. They had four buttons up top. They were a bib style, and you had to slip them over your head.
Wow.
So I try to keep to the original fashion. Last year at Dragon Con, when I entered in the costume contest, the judges really liked the fact that my Iron Man costume, I had used period patterns for the pants for that costume as well as the shirt and the vest, which was actually integrated into the armor itself. So it was something similar to that. So I try to keep it to the same aspects of it. Actually, in my side corner here, you can see behind the bicycle. Um, that's actually it's missing the blade head of the scythe, but that's the scythe for the this costume, and it's actually kind of hard to get a good judge on it of its size, but it actually stands about 7 feet tall.
Oh my
It's pretty
goodness.
big. That's another thing that we'll be talking about. This is all prop work and some costume stuff that I previously had done.
Uh, uh-oh. Oh, shit. You're back.
Yeah, that was a little strange.
Yeah. This thing is
But
just not wanting to work today.
no, it doesn't. Well, we'll pick up where we left off.
Yes.
Um, I think I was talking about the site back there.
Mhm.
The site too. I was trying to keep it within period correctness, Victorian era, 19th century style. The handle itself, which you can see over my shoulder, is actually it's been extended slightly about 14 inches, but it is a actual farm sickle handle from a site, an actual site. That, we picture uh, the old photographs and paintings of death, pictures of death having that sickle. So this is kind of what this character looks like as well. It's DC's version of it.
Wow. So how did you find the scythe handle? Did you just Google it and
I did. I was searching all online. They actually make reproductions of them, but they vary between $70 and $80. And I was going, wow. I was considering it for a while, and I just so happened to be on eBay one day, and that popped up. It was original. It needed, resanded. It had a lot of bad wood on it. Needed some more staining, which I've already done to it. It popped up for I think $17 shipped, included shipping on
wow,
eBay. So I said, yeah, I'll do that, and it made a perfect uh, platform to start to build the lantern off of it.
that is crazy. And I'm sorry, I don't remember if you said You're wearing platforms or some type of
I
wear?
am. Yeah, I am. The boots actually came in. I can actually show them to you real quick.
Oh, cool.
I'm going to be wearing 3-inch
Wow.
platform boots. I didn't want to go any bigger because they would look a little too novelty, but these
Right.
are basically the boots that I'll be using. They're going to be pretty heavily modified. I'm going to be adding a lot of armor to them. Uh, One thing about steampunk is you need a lot of brass, so
Mm-hmm.
they're going to have a lot of brass accessories on them once I get them done. I've actually tried them on, walked around in them. They're super comfortable, fit great. Shouldn't have any problems with them at DragonCon. This will probably make me roughly around 6'6" ish, give or take. This character is really huge, actually probably over 7 feet tall, so I'm not going to be able to depict it perfectly. Um, any bigger platforms, it would just look silly. So I'm hoping that's going to be enough. I'll just take pictures with a lot of short people.
Well, me.
but
That works.
yeah, with these on, I actually have to duck going through doorways now. Doorways are usually 6'6",
Oh
so
my goodness.
it makes me
Are
pretty
you wearing a
imposing.
hat?
No, I'm
Okay.
going to be incorporating a hood. The character has a very long, tattered cape, which I have to simulate. I have a problem distressing things. I'm extremely
Mm.
obsessive compulsive. I like everything to be clean and neat. And I'm actually making this costume too clean and neat. I'm trying to figure out how to make it look a little worse, but I can't quite do that yet. That's going to be probably something I'll do right before DragonCon, like distress
Right.
thing. But he's going to have a cape with basically a hood included.
Okay.
So there's going to be a hood. It's all going to be mounted onto the back of the shoulder pads. Again, that'll probably be something I'll describe next week. But the hood I plan on working on, um, hoping I can get started on it this weekend. The shoulder pads are nearly done. I'll be able to show those on our next interview. But the hood's basically just going to go over while I'm wearing that over my head. And my plans are to have a smoke generator. I'm actually going to be using two miniature. We talked about those
Mm-hmm.
Eastgate style vapor smoke generators. Um, Basically, just plumbed up through my back to have smoke engulfing through my hood.
Oh
In
my goodness.
theory, it should look neat. We'll see if it actually works.
So with your hood, you might make 7 feet or really
Uh,
close.
I'll be pretty imposing. Yeah, I mean the hood's probably not going to stick up that much, just a little
Mm.
bit.
Okay.
Cone a little in the back of it when I have it up. But we'll see. I'm trying to get it as close as I possibly can. I know there are going to be other steampunk lanterns there, and a lot of them representing all of the colors, all the different lantern corps. So, and I know a lot of these people personally. I know their heights too, so I know who's going to look really good for photographs and things like that with it.
Wow. And you mentioned that you have your plan set out of how you're going to make it to Dragon Con with all of the work that you have done.
Yeah, I from last year. Last year was pretty much my test run. I have a really good toting and storage method. Basically, a 55-gallon Rubbermaid container, storage container that I have 80-pound caster wheels mounted to it that I just pulled around wheelbarrow style. Basically behind me though, it just sort of follows me along. And I've had it loaded down with 60, 70 pounds worth of equipment, gear, costumes, and things like that. It's great. I can pretty much pack everything in it, including changes of clothes. Makes things a little bit easier getting through the crowds. That's what's important because it's just so busy. And when everybody gets there on Thursday, Thursday's the day of arrival. Thursday's packed. It's crazy. Everybody trying to get to their rooms, trying to find parking. Even though it's a 60-pound, 55-gallon, very large rectangular container, that's all I have to worry about.
Right.
And that's kind of nice.
So you have a timeline of like work
That's what
you're
I'm
gonna
trying
do?
to. That's what I'm trying to establish now. What are we at? About 70 days,
Seven,
something like
yeah,
that.
70, 71.
I'm doing it as in weekly schedules.
Okay.
This week, by the end of this week, I want to finish the shoulder pads off. Um, I still have my, as you can see in the back, they're mounted, but the left one, I don't have the emblems all finished on it yet. and the electronics for it. I want to finish all of that, get the wiring set up by the end of this week. This weekend, I'd like to start laying out a pattern to make the cloak, the hood. Uh, and then next week as well, I want to finish the cloak, the hood, and also begin working on this character has basically like a metal dog collar that
Mm.
has chains that come off of it that basically were for securing him. I'd like to get started on that. Um, and the lantern back there, my lantern battery, basically with the sickle. I've been working on the blade, trying to get it smoothed out. They use the blade for it is roughly, I think I had talked to you about it before, it's roughly 3.5 feet long. I actually have it in another room drying right now because I've been resining it. Once I resin it and sand it, I end up finding another bad spot on it where it's not smooth. I have to go over it again. So I have been literally working on that for 2 weeks now.
Oh my goodness.
And it is basically just made out of polystyrene, pink foam, cut to shape, sanded down, and then coated in polyester resin, Bondo. It's very labor intensive. That's why this is my big main costume. It's another reason why I'm entering in the costume contest. I don't think I'd be going to all this trouble if I wasn't going to compete with it.
Right.
But one nice thing about it is it's a time management thing. I've always been pretty good at setting goals, making things realistic, and I think 70 days is going to be enough to be able to get everything done. I still have to even get started on this. The final piece that I'll be working on once all of the stuff that you've seen I've talked about is done. I'm actually going to sculpt and create 2 Warbler gauntlets, basically mounted over leather gloves that will go up to
Mm.
my elbows. And these are going to have to be extremely menacing pieces. I actually have something they're going to similarly look like. This is actually a gauntlet I made a few years ago out of metal, very steampunk. This one's going to be made out of Warbler and also include armor down to my elbows, so it's going to be a lot more uh, actual equipment than just a glove like this. And hopefully a little bit easier to make. This metal glove took me a month to make.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, you
I'm
can't do that again.
No, I don't have the time frame for it. But what's nice is I'll be making this out of Warbler.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's going to be made more of a gauntlet style. This one wraps 360 degrees around your fingers. It was a lot more labor intensive to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you don't have as much control as what I plan on making with the Warbler. It's basically going to be interlocking joints, but my underside of my hand is going to be free. It's just going to be leather gloves. I'll be able to
Okay.
hold on to things and be a little bit easier. I don't want to spill my drink, so
Which is
this is very difficult to hold any kind of cup or any kind of container because you can't feel anything.
right. And that's very important when planning a costume for Dragon Con is you have to make sure
Yes,
you don't
Dragon
spill your
Con
drink.
is about having a good time, and yeah,
That's all I care about.
that is what it's for.
Yeah.
It's definitely an adult con. I mean, it's for everybody, but it's much more of an adult-oriented con.
Oh my goodness.
The
I just
kids that do not want to grow up. That is us.
yeah, that's a really good way of describing us. But I'm stressed for you.
Don't be. I'm not stressed yet. When we get to the end of July, then I might start stressing. But I think I have my time frame figured out. That's what it's all about. This is time management. People don't realize that, but with costuming, it's all about time management. You got to set up realistic goals that you can get these things done.
Hmm.
You can't crank something out in 2 weeks. Not something that's
Yeah.
show worthy or respectable.
Right.
It's just not possible. There's drying times that have to be taken into effect. You have to sleep. I mean, a little bit. You have to eat and do other things, and usually you have to work.
Hmm.
So something like this, and not surprising that these kinds of costumes take 6 to 8 months. That's just
Right.
the nature of the beast.
I'm just happy that I'm never that ambitious. And I don't want to make anything like that ever.
Well,
I
my
will be
my
looking forward to seeing yours.
my motto is kind of go big or go home. That's just how I do things. I've always been hyper competitive, and when I got into costuming, that my personality just transferred over into it. So that's just me. I think costumes are all an extension of everybody's personality. Mine, it just shows how completely OCD I am with symmetry and neatness and making sure everything's clean. And that's kind of a problem because I want to age and distress stuff, but I can't bring myself to do it.
You sure it doesn't say anything about the fact that you like to be a huge, scary death
I
person?
don't know. I don't always play bad guys, but I don't know. I can relate with them more. It's strange. I never really do the superhero types. If I do any kind of a hero, it's an anti-hero that's sort of dark and brooding. It's weird. Like when people were asking what Lantern I wanted to be, I could have been anybody. I could have done a Green Lantern if I wanted to, but that just wasn't me. I was like, oh, I got to do the Black Lantern. He's the bad guy. So,
Wow. So I think on that we're gonna close out.
sounds good.
Look forward to what you have for next week.
And I'll be looking forward to getting it done in time so I can show you. Hopefully, making a little progress on what's behind me.
Yeah. Alrighty, so good night.
Alrighty, good night.